So the first one I want to talk about, and it kind of hit me on the way in this morning. The secret to success often resides on the other side of being uncomfortable. The longer you can get uncomfortable with something and it becomes comfort, the more chances of success, whether this is in finance or weight loss or relationships or language or music or anything I could think of. So I wanted to talk to you as a man who quit his job to start a business with a truck and a toolbox, like video number one. What do you think about that? Does the success on the other side of being uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, comfortable can be dangerous, in a lot of ways. For me, I'm a natural born entrepreneur, so it was never uncomfortable for me to go out on my own and start my own business. What was uncomfortable and where I had to stretch along the way was the next level. So like when I first started out working out of my house, doing everything myself, when I signed my first lease, that was kind of like, stretching out of my comfort zone. That was uncomfortable. I was kind of worried, man, I just guaranteed a lease of $800 a month. And if I don't, how am I going to pay this?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that. And then the next stretch was to a bigger office that was $3,000 a month. So I went from a little, $800 a month office warehouse to a $3,000 a month office. And then the next stretch was hiring people and growing and doing those things where you step out of that comfort zone because, as individuals, you get comfortable, you're doing the same thing over and over. And if you do what you've always done, you will always be what you have become. If you always think what you always thought, you will always get what you have always got. So in order to grow, you have to do something different tomorrow than you're doing today.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times what got you there, here won't get you there.
Yes.
So you can reach a certain level if you want to grow and expand. And this is if you want to grow and expand, you have to take on the next level, take on the next challenge and step out of your comfort zone. But it doesn't necessarily mean, crazy or whatever. It just means that you've been doing this for so long, it's comfortable and familiar. And when you start challenging yourself to the next level, that can be a little uncomfortable. But it's like I always tell everybody, what seems hard and complicated, once you've done it, you look back and you go, wow, that wasn't that big of a deal. First $1 million, well, the first new construction house I ever built, I was a little nervous about it, but I hired an expert to work for me, that's what he had done. And then when I built my first $1 million house, I remember thinking, man, do I belong in this game? And then once you get there, you're like, oh, wow, okay, I do belong here. I can do this. And that's where you put your reps in, you build that confidence, success breeds success, momentum breeds momentum. And, that's how you become confident in what you're doing, is through competency. As you grow and scale and as you do things, you become more confident, more comfortable in stretching the limits.
Yeah. And again, the whole notion of being uncomfortable is really different for different folks where it resides. For you, it was signing the office lease, $800 commitment, then 3,000. For some folks, it would be quitting their day job to start a business, right? So you really don't judge where others are being uncomfortable. But again, if you want it to be different tomorrow, which if you're watching one rental at a time, you want it to be different. What can you do to kind of set a new path? For Olivia and I, it was really twofold. One, it was frankly lowering our expenses, right? We allowed lifestyle creep to enter our world. Like it was wrong. It was dumb. It was silly.
That was your first mistake, was lowering your expenses.
Yes. For us, it was critical, but yes, I understand where you're coming from. We should talk about that actually. And then the other one for us is I needed to find 20 minutes a day to look at my market, right? I was somebody who frequently worked 12 hours a day, trying to keep a wife happy, raising a daughter, and often traveling on airplanes, 3 or 4 different cities in a week. So I had to find that time. I didn't have a magic day stretcher, so I just had to find it. And sometimes,
so that's your second mistake, is only 20 minutes and only working 12 hours a day, because you have 24 in a day. So if you're only working 12, you're only working half days. Come on.
I love you. You're awesome. This is why you are a natural entrepreneur, and I'm still trying, man. I'm trying. So let's talk about that. My first mistake was lowering my expenses, because I know where you're coming from, but the audience may not.
Yeah. So instead of thinking, how can I cut back? You need to be thinking, how can I get more? So if you want something and you want more of something, how can you get that? And I was very fortunate at my age. So, the comfort level thing, I had started some businesses on the side while I was working. So it wasn't uncomfortable for me to step out on my own. So if you want to start your own business or you want to take that next step, start small where you can on the side while you're still doing your full-time thing. Then when you make that leap, it's not such a big deal because you already have that established confidence that you know that what you're doing is going to work, versus just giving it all up and going for it, which you can do that too, burn the bridge and just burn the ship and just go. But anyways, back to that. So don't think in terms of, I can't have this or I need to cut back on that. Think in terms of what is it going to take for me to continue that and actually spend more. And what do I need to increase? What do I need to do? Because in this day and age right now, it's so easy to make extra money on the side without leaving your house. All kinds of different things you can do in the digital world, in the digital economy, through just investing, day trading, starting a business, just doing all kinds of different things. So there are ways, but you have to want it. So you just said, I couldn't find 20 minutes. I bet you if I looked at your life, I could have found several hours.
Probably.
Because you were making choices to do other things. And I don't mean being a workaholic or anything like that, but I mean, if you're sitting down just mindlessly watching TV, when you have a need and there's something you want, well, then you should be spending that time earning, either gaining the knowledge to earn or actually earning so that you can invest and afford these other things instead of sitting down in front of the TV or just, hanging out at, the bar and having a beer or whatever it is. And I'm not saying that was you. No, I'm just saying a lot of people will say, I don't have time. I just can't fit this into my schedule. And it's not that they can't, it's just that they're choosing other things and, working 12 hours a day. I mean, when I was starting my businesses, when I first started out, I was up at 5 a.m. so I could be on the job site by 7. I didn't leave until 6 or 7 at night because traffic was too heavy at 5. So I just stayed, an extra couple of hours. I got home just in time to take a shower, eat something and go to bed and get up and do it all over again. I mean, I was getting, 8 hours of sleep. So how many is that? 16 hours. I mean, I was putting 16 hours in building a business, doing whatever I needed to do, whatever it took in order to make that happen so that later I didn't have to do that. Later, I learned how to lead, delegate, motivate, leverage the talents and abilities of others. But when you're starting out, back when I started out doing what I was doing, there was just me, my truck, my tools, and my hands, and then growing and scaling from there. So, that's how I did it. And, it's all about choices.
Agreed. It's all about choices. One of the things that I want to reiterate is it's never been a better time to monetize your interest in hobbies, right? I don't care what it is. If you like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or painting or fixing old Mustangs, whatever it is, you can monetize that. And the beauty is you already like it. It's already something you're passionate about. So it won't feel like work. In fact, it might be a stress reliever. There are so many ways you can monetize your hobbies and passion. And again, in doing that after your 9 to 5, will set you up for success. So you don't have to burn the bridge or burn the boats or whatever the analogy is. I totally agree with that. Everybody should be setting up, finding whatever their hobby and passion is, go finding their tribe, their 1,000 followers or whatever it is, and just go for it. Because
knowledge is valuable and people are willing to pay for what a skill or whatever. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And now don't get me wrong. So when I was doing these things, I was young, I didn't have kids yet, I was married, so I could put the time in. Of course, it wasn't the best for the marriage because I was working a lot,
You're probably not.
But I mean, I was setting up for the future and for the family and things like that. And then as the business grew and things like that, I was able to leverage a little bit more. And if I had the knowledge I have now back then, I would have done it totally different. I wouldn't have had to work 100 hours a day. And I'm not advocating for that. No. I'm not saying you got to the Grant Cardone hustle where you just got to go, push it every day. And, you don't have to do that. No. You can be a little bit more smarter about it, a little bit more leverage. Again, that's just his personality type, right?
Yeah.
He has an addictive personality and you got to keep it busy with one thing or the other.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to do that because he's fighting off demons from his past.
Yeah, that's what keeps him out of trouble and keeps him focused. And, that's great for him. But, not everybody can do that. People have kids, people have obligations, people have that. So what I'm saying is think about those times where you have, the extra time. Instead of sitting down in front of the TV and watching that series, that hour-long weekly series, spend that learning a skill, studying your market, working on that venture so that eventually, if you want to get out on your own, you can. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with people that don't want to do that. Like I tell the story of the office manager I had that worked for me for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years and had a great salary. And I told her I would pay for your college if you wanted. She was only a couple of classes away from getting her degree in accounting. And I said, I'll pay for that. And you can do this part. She said, no, she wanted to go home every day and watch soap operas at lunch for an hour every day. She could have done that at lunchtime. So
Yeah.
again, it's choices. Do you want to go watch soap operas at lunch every day for an hour, or do you want to use that hour
Mhm.
that could eventually be worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to you in your career down the road? It's all about choices.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And if folks want to follow you, because again, you are putting out amazing stuff, how do you want them to do that?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. All of my links to my YouTube channel, podcast, everything's there, gregdickerson.com.
Very cool, man. Thanks again.